bloating isn't your stomach being weak. It's that your body is still tight and your body is still on edge. And once I understood that, I stopped asking myself, how do I get rid of this feeling? Hello and welcome to a New Year's Eve recording episode of Emotional Eating Unwrapped. I indeed am recording this one on New Year's Eve because I am going on vacation in a couple of days and I want to make sure that I have all of my episodes recorded to be able to deliver to you guys even while I'm away. So it's New Year's Eve. Happy New Year to everyone. Happy 2026. Wishing all of my listeners, all of you all of your families, a wonderful new year. I hope that you all get and feel everything that you desire. So with that, we are going to talk today about something that actually might be beneficial to talk about. We're going to talk about what I wish I knew about stomach pain and bloating after overeating, which after the holiday season, maybe after tonight, for some of you, you might be feeling. And even though you're listening to this a couple weeks after New Year's, I think it will help because I know for me, this is something that I definitely struggled more with. When I was in the meat of my relationship with food that dealt with the binging and more of the regular overeating. So I really am excited to talk about this because we're going to talk about it in a bit of a different way. So we're going to talk about not so much the eating, not so much the urge, not even the regret. We're going to talk more about what your body feels like after, right? We're going to talk about the tight stomach, what bloating really feels like, the way that your stomach feels stretched and sore and almost like it's still full, the way that your pants and your clothes doesn't really fit the same the next day. And it kind of messes with your mind, right? You kind of get this weird, you're like living in a weird universe in your brain about how you're relating to your body. And you get this foggy or heavy feeling that makes you think that something is wrong with you. And like I said before, for a long time, I had this feeling. What I didn't understand yet was that the discomfort that I was feeling actually wasn't about food. And it wasn't something that I could fix with food. And I think that's important to say because I think that a lot of people and my as well, immediate reaction is to start to manage food more strictly and, be more disciplined with food. But a lot of discomfort of bloating isn't about the food. It's about what your body went through during the experience of the overeating. And again, what we're talking about when we talk about overeating isn't just like, a little overeating. It's a binge style. It's getting to the place where you eat and stuff yourself to the point of really feeling like you're disconnected from yourself, like you've gone past the point of no return. So that's what we're really chatting about today. And if you're new to me, I want to introduce myself to you. My name is Alana Kessler. I am a registered functional dietitian. I have been in the health and wellness space, mindfulness space for 20 plus years. I've worked clinically. I owned a yoga studio for 10 years. I've been teaching yoga for almost 2 decades, actually 2 decades. But my passion, especially at this phase of my life in the past decade or so, is really helping people really fall in love with their body, reconnect with themselves, lose weight, overcome any kind of emotional or addictive behaviors with food, and just live your best life. So if you're new and you're here, welcome and let's dive in. The first topic I want to talk about. Overeating is not only hard on your stomach, but it is really hard on your nervous system. And here's the part that not many people explain. When you overeat, especially emotionally, your body is not calm when it happens, right? There's often stress before, there's often urgency, there's often rushing. Sometimes there's secrecy, which takes planning and a lot of emotional energy. Sometimes you're completely checked out. And even if you're sitting still, your body's not relaxed. So when the eating stops, your system doesn't just snap back to normal just because the eating's finished. It's still tense. And the truth is digestion, to digest food, for it to be digested completely where all the nutrients are digested, acid, all of the waste moves out, everything is nice and calm, you need your body to be calm. You need your body to be relaxed. But after overeating, after binging, most people are anything but calm. Most people have tons of things rushing through them, tons of emotions, guilt, fear, shame. And even if you feel nothing, even if you're dissociated, your body is still processing that as tension. The bloating isn't your stomach being weak. It's that your body is still tight and your body is still on edge. And once I understood that, I stopped asking myself, how do I get rid of this feeling, right? I stopped kind of just trying to expunge this feeling from my body. And instead, I used it as a portal to curiosity. And I started asking myself, what would actually help my body settle right now? That really was the beginning of everything changing, was switching from this, I just want to get rid of this, whatever, like I need to get rid of this, almost like exiling myself from this feeling from myself. And instead, I use this opportunity to take this feeling and understand myself better. Okay, so that's a really, really important skill and shift that really helps to feel and to create just a more compassionate relationship with stomach pain and with bloating if this is something that happens to you regularly. Okay, the second thing is feeling bad about bloating makes the bloating worse, right? So meaning like feeling bad about it, like getting mad at yourself for it. That's what I mean. Like kind of bullying yourself makes the bloating worse. So when you're replaying what you ate, when you're making rules for tomorrow, when you're thinking, oh, I shouldn't have done that, that's not just something that is narrating in your head, right? Your body processes that. When you're ashamed, when you're stressed, your body absorbs that. You'll notice your belly tightens, your breathing gets shallow, right? It's up in your chest. So even if digestion is happening after an overeating episode or a binge episode, your body, like we said before, needs to be relaxed in order for I'm going to get sciencey here, but the peristalsis of the intestines to happen so that you can digest efficiently. But when we're in a state of bullying ourselves and being mad at ourselves, your body can't relax enough for things to move along efficiently. I remember I used to lie there thinking that I just had to wait it out. And the moment that I stopped beating myself up, even a little bit, the pressure and the bloating actually eased faster, right? So once I stopped trying to berate myself, the negative self-talk, and I just allowed myself to wait it out. I'm not saying that I felt good about it. This is another thing, really just getting comfortable with feeling uncomfortable for a short amount of time. And, I like to say this, this story about the Buddha. So if you're listening to me for a while, you know that, like I said before, I've been studying mindfulness for a long time. I studied Buddhism for decades. And there's a story where the Buddha says, don't throw the second arrow. And the second arrow is the arrow of suffering. The first arrow is pain, and the second arrow is suffering, which means that the second arrow is something that we can control. We can control whether we suffer. We can't always control pain. So the bloating is pain, but the berating ourselves and the bullying, that's the second arrow that causes the suffering. That's what causes the cycle. It's really important that we learn how to deal with pain so that we don't suffer in the long run. Okay, your body can't calm down if you are attacking it. All right, the third thing is trying to make up for it keeps your body stressed, right? I wish I knew this, right? Back then, that trying to make up for the overeating episode, the binge episode, keeps your body in the stress state. You've built a good life. From the outside, it looks like you have it all together. You eat clean, you work hard, you take care of everyone. But there's this one area that still feels impossible to master, and that is food. You can eat perfectly all day and still end up in the kitchen at night wondering why you keep doing this. You promise yourself you'll start fresh tomorrow, and I know you mean it every single time. But the cycle, it always finds its way back, especially when you're stressed, when you're overwhelmed, or when you're just tired of being the one that's holding it all together. And I get it because I lived that way for years. And what I learned is this: the problem, it was never about food. It was the pressure underneath it. the perfectionism, the self-doubt, the part of me that never felt safe and secure to just be me. And that's why I created the sober eating sequence. It's a proven 3-phase method that rewires the emotional patterns and the belief systems driving overeating so you can relax, trust yourself around food, and release weight completely naturally, without force and without obsession. Because when your body feels secure, it lets go. The cravings quiet, the self-punishment, it softens, and food, it stops being the thing that you have to fix. This is not another plan. This isn't another rule book. It's a revolutionary transformation for your nervous system, for your body, and for your identity. So join the sober eating movement today. So back in the day, after overeating, after a big binge episode, my instinct was always to fix it. I'm assuming potentially that you have a similar experience if you're listening to this. And examples of that would be I would skip the next meal, eat less the next day, be extra quote unquote good, have this dogmatic list of rules. And the thing about that was it put me into this false state of control and this false state of responsibility. Like in my mind, I felt like I was taking the power back and I was being responsible. But what I actually was telling my body subconsciously, what my body's message was getting was that, oh, something is wrong. We're in trouble. And here is the irony of the whole thing. When your body thinks it's in trouble, it holds on. It actually stops the normal processes from working. It thinks it needs to conserve. It goes into survival. It holds water. It holds tension. It slows digestion. So what helped more than anything was doing the boring, unexciting, often kind of scary thing because it meant that I had to kind of like trust a little bit and let go a little bit. And that was, eating the next meal normally. Not perfectly, but, eating it normally. Maybe it was a little bit lighter. Maybe it was heavier on certain things than other things. Maybe I made like slightly different choices, but I didn't skip a meal. I didn't put myself into this restrictive state, and I kept a regular cadence of eating, making sure that I wasn't putting my body into a situation where it feels like there's an emergency and potentially food is going to be being taken away and therefore needs to shut it down. I wouldn't put my body in that situation. So for the short term, sometimes it made me feel very uncomfortable physically and also emotionally because it meant that I had to trust and I had to let go. But in the long term, and truthfully, even in the short term, when I thought about it, it calmed my system way more than a restriction ever did. And the restriction thing kept me in a cycle for weeks and weeks. And when I did this, it really helped me to, after a couple days, really, really feel like myself again and feel a lot more in control than if I did when I attached to that false sense of control that the restriction, all that type of behavior gave me when I was doing it. And then the fourth thing is sometimes the bloating isn't about the food. It's about the after effects. Okay. So this is something that I didn't know at the time, but that I learned afterwards, that sometimes the bloating isn't food related. It's the after effects of the episode. So there were times that my stomach still felt off even after I ate normally again. And even after, like I said before, I started to feel a lot better a few days later. Sometimes I still felt like my digestion wasn't great, like I was maybe a little bit constipated, like I was bloating faster, my body was retaining more water. There were just things that I noticed. Maybe my clothes felt tighter for longer than I had been comfortable with. And then what I learned was that it's not about the food substances that I was necessarily eating those couple days, right? Or it wasn't really about the food substance itself. It's that the process of binging and overeating and all these physiological states that we put our body in and emotional states that happen in our mind that I've talked about in the last couple of topics, it leaves your body rattled. And what I mean by that, it's like when you finally sit down after maybe a stressful day and your body still feels weird, even though nothing's happening anymore. It's almost like a hangover, right? You feel like you have this emotional hangover, this overeating hangover. Therefore, the bloating isn't really food related. It's not about anything food related, or maybe even that the digestion isn't working and there's undigested food there. There's like something food related. It's more that my system is still emotionally and physiologically and even neurobiologically coming down from the experience of overeating and binging. And so what helped here, again, wasn't to try and micromanage, wasn't to try and control food again. What I would do in these situations would be to really get my body and physiology into a state of trust and into a state of connection and into a state of calm. So for me, that would be like taking a bath, walking, breath work, slow yoga. Ironically, a lot of people do like very intense workouts after bloating experiences or feeling stomach pain after there's overeating and binging. And here's the thing that I really learned was that our bodies sometimes interpret high intensity workouts like boot camps or Orange Theory or, spin, Soul Cycle, things like that. They're great, but our body interprets them actually as dangerous, right? They put our bodies into an anaerobic state of like heightened, kind of like you're running away from a tiger. So even though it seems counterintuitive, like, oh, we need to burn these calories, it's actually not helpful to do that after a binge episode, an overeating episode, because your body, like we talked about before, ends up shutting down and actually slows digestion and slows metabolism. Whereas doing slower things that actually reconnect you and turn your physiology back on so that the engine can get going again, that's actually what makes your metabolism go quicker. I know it sounds kind of counterintuitive. And when your metabolism goes quicker, your body is more efficient in using energy. And that's essentially what we want to do, because when your body efficiently uses energy, then, the bloating dissipates. That's how weight comes off, right? It's really not about burning the most calories in a workout class. So, that was just a sidebar, but I think it's really important to understand that one of the things that's really important is to let your body be relaxed and be slower and, stop putting it in a situation where it's bracing and tense all the time. Even like sucking your stomach in, it's so important to maybe wear clothes that are more comfortable, loose fitting clothes. I know that I have those types of clothes still. I have pants that have a stretchy waistband and I put those on when I feel bloated. I don't force myself into things that put my body into a tense state. Okay. So once I stopped treating this feeling like it was a problem or something that I had to burn off or hide from or like stuff down, it passed a lot faster. And so what actually changed for me, was learning that my body wasn't punishing me. It was actually very overwhelmed when I would have stomach pain and feel bloated. And the fastest way to feel better wasn't necessarily trying to fix my digestion or micromanage food, like I said, but it was changing how I responded to my body after an episode. It was creating the routines and the rituals and the relationship with myself with my body after that helped the most. So when I stopped panicking, when I stopped compensating, when I stopped putting my body into a state where it needed to feel like it had to survive, and when I stopped making it mean something about me, like the bloating or the overeating, or the feeling that I would feel my body after these episodes were about me, my body recovered faster, right? The bloating didn't last as long. And actually the episodes themselves happened less often because my body learned something really important, which was, I'm not going to get attacked after this, right? Like nothing bad is going to happen. It's okay. This is an experience. It's good. We're going to feel this and then eventually it's going to pass. So if your stomach hurts or if you feel bloated after overeating, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong. There's something you have to fix. It just means that your body went through something intense, and more than anything, it needs your help and your self-leadership to calm it down. And the more you fight with it, the more you try to fix it, the more you try to, do things to make it go away faster, the longer it actually stays tight because you're keeping it tense. And so the more you support it, the faster it settles. That's really it. That's really it. So much of this work is about learning how to be with yourself and how to support yourself the best. So if you enjoyed this episode, it would be amazing if you could share the episodes on YouTube, on Spotify, if you leave us a rating and review so that we can get this podcast and these episodes out out to more people just like you that are looking to be, to be supported and get some guidance on how to navigate this journey with emotional overeating and weight loss. And of course, share this episode with someone if you feel like they will benefit from it. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe there as well. And until next time, I'm Alana, and thank you for listening to Emotional Eating Unwrapped.